Up in the mountains, some people have gone missing. Other people, they don't like that, so they send in the STARS. STARS, Special Tactics and Rescue Service. They're cops that are better than regular cops. What's supposed to be a standard search and rescue mission turned into a nightmare. Out of balance. No escape. All the STARS can do is hide in that big, mysterious mansion in the middle of the woods. That is the setup. A very good setup, short, simple, and effective, only fitting that it would precede a game of a certain name.
Resident Evil.
A game of such impeccable quality and artistry that, in spite of being over 22 years old, is still the pinnacle of its genre. But how? How could a game crafted in the mines of Tokyo, forged for the GameCube 360 XL, released in the era of Nickelodeon and 9/11, possibly be anything but outdated, misguided trash? Well, I'm here to tell you how. If you want to go through that door, step into the nightmare, then listen up. I'm going to tell you the tips, the tricks, and the secrets that make the Resident Evil remake incredible 22 years later. I'm going to tell you the good, I'm going to tell you the bad, and I'm going to tell you why this game is directly responsible for the infamous 2002 surge and sticky note cells. Come on, let's go.
Is everyone alright?
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil is a remake of the first Resident Evil game, originally released for the GameCube in 2002 and then receiving an HD port for 8th gen consoles, which is what you're looking at here. The game puts you in the boots of STARS members Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield as they fight to escape and survive the mysterious Spencer Mansion, uncovering its secrets along the way. I'm sorry, fuck the formalities for a second. Let's address the whale on the beach. This game came out in 2002. I'm not yanking your chain, this game was released in 2002 for the bloody GameCube. That is phenomenal. Do you know what games looked like in 2002? This is considered one of the best games of 2002. No, wait, that came out in 2004. There's, no, that's 2006. Maybe not, 2009.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with everything.
2017? Okay, the point is, this looked like a game from the future. I don't know how other games were even released after this. The shame people must have felt to release a game that looks like this, when Resident Evil was graphically a decade ahead, must have been gut-wrenching. There are games coming out today that don't look as good as this game. You know what? You could release this game today, pass off any shortcomings as an artistic choice, and nobody would be the wiser. What kind of fool would look at this game and say, I don't know, man, it looks like it was made 20 years ago? It just wouldn't happen. The game looks incredible for its age, but how? How does this 22-year-old game look so amazing? Well, this game doesn't look its age, much for the same reason your favorite celebrity doesn't look their age. It's cheating. You see how the game camera doesn't follow the player, but instead snaps to prefix positions? It doesn't work that way because the director thought it would look cool. The reason you don't play the game in first person or in third person is because, put simply, there is no 3D environment. The entire Spencer Mansion and all that surrounds it is nothing but a bunch of pretty pictures. An illusion. That's why the camera doesn't move around, because there is nothing else to see. Hell, one problem with this game, if you stand in the right place, you can actually see where some of the images end, leaving nothing but the void behind them. Now, the reason this allows the game to look so good is not just because the entire environment is comprised of masterfully crafted artworks, but because the game's entire environment is comprised of a bunch of JPEGs that require almost no processing power. As a result, the 3D objects that the game does have are allowed to sport an, at the time, unprecedented amount of polygons. So our characters can look just as good as the world they inhabit. I'm not the type to care about the inner workings of a video game, but this stuff is fascinating. All the early Resident Evil games used this trick, and at the time of their respective releases, they were all hailed as visually groundbreaking. But the passage of time has not been kind to them. They don't look entirely bad, but you can definitely tell they came out in the 90s. But through the power of brand new hardware and all the lessons learnt from previous Resident Evils, this game became truly visually timeless. The gameplay of Resident Evil is really quite exciting. It's a great combination of impeccable atmosphere and varied gameplay. Bit of combat here, manage your items here, solve a puzzle there, all the hallmarks of the survival horror genre. But the thing you need to be wary of when going into this game is that it's kind of an illusion of variety. While combat, traversal, item storage, item searching, and puzzle solving may all sound different enough, when it comes to feeling, they all play pretty much the same. Understand this now, to the bone, Resident Evil is a puzzle game. Combat? You couldn't aim your gun if you wanted to. These elite cops have the defensive capabilities of an aunt who watched one self-defense video 5 years ago. The combat doesn't feel anything like combat because it's not. It's a puzzle. It's not about where you shoot, it's about having enough ammo. Did you bring the right gun? I bet you didn't. You could bring all your ammo, but then you wouldn't have space for the key, the crank, the kerosene, or the medical marijuana. Inventory management? That's a puzzle. What do you need? When do you need it? Do you have enough space? No, you don't. You never have enough space, stupid child. Why does a shotgun take up the same amount of space as a breath mint? Jill has 2 more inventory slots than Chris, which is stupid, because as we all know, a man's scrotum acts as a built-in pocket. Like hamster cheeks, we can fit anything in there. Puzzles. Those are literal puzzles. Traversal. Why do people like tank controls? That's a puzzle. Uh-oh, did you forget something back in the safe room? You will now spend exactly 1 million years watching virtual doors open. Please make it stop. Have I made myself clear? Everything you do in this game is about planning. It's about taking into account what you do know, what you don't know, and coming up with the fastest, safest, smartest possible way to walk out of that safe room, make progress, and come back. It is a puzzle game in disguise. You have to keep that in mind. Speaking of safe rooms, the safe rooms are a staple of Resident Evil, one that the more recent games don't lean into as much as I'd like. Though in fairness, the newer ones can afford not to. I really don't think a game like this could work without them. Like I said, this game is all about planning and adapting to whatever horrors lurk behind the next corner. It's a very stressful and intense experience. There's a reason it's called survival horror and not Chris and Jill's biohazard adventure. And that's why the safe rooms are so important. Getting to a safe room is like reaching a checkpoint. You survived. You made it. You're completely safe. Heal up, take a minute, and when you're ready, you can plan your next move. It's a great way for the player to slow down, smell the roses of their labor, but also just to appreciate the game. Being under constant pressure can make it hard to appreciate the little things that make this game so great. Resident Evil moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it. And the music. Oh, God, man. This game's atmosphere is phenomenal. And yes, that's because the game looks so good, but without the music? So many haunting tracks, none of them loud, aggressive, in-your-face, scary. They're more subtle than that. It's like you've awoken every past horror of this place. Everywhere you go, every room, every corridor, they're watching you, calling out to you, as if to say, hurry, you have got to get the fuck out of this house. But you can't. You're trapped, just like them. Safe haven. God, Safe Haven is the safe room track. Probably also the best track. I don't know what your Resi safe room song hierarchy looks like, but for me, Safe Haven might even be a bit better than Serenity from RE4, and Serenity is phenomenal. Safe Haven just has it, you know what I mean? It is the quintessential safe room song. What does a safe room song need to do? It has to comfort you, it needs to put you at ease and make you feel safe, but not delusionally so. Through abnormal sounds and a not too optimistic feel, a safe room song also has to remind you that this comfort is not permanent. You will have to step back into the horror eventually, but there's no rush. This is what Safe Haven sets out to do, and it exceeds tenfold. It hits every feeling. I've been listening to it the whole time I write this script, not just because I like it, but because it does such a great job putting you in the Resident Evil headspace. There's nothing else like it. In a sense, the safe rooms are literal checkpoints, because that's where the typewriters are, and you save your game using typewriters. I've always loved that, because the whole game, as we move throughout the mansion, we're always finding notes and documents from the people that worked here, detailing their final moments or the many things that went wrong. And that's why I love saving with the typewriters, because it's like Chris and Jill are unleashing their inner Anne Frank and making their own notes. Proof of what they've learnt and how far they've made it, as if someone else could find the typewriter, read their notes and wonder what happened after their last entry. I think it's a really fitting way to make saving your game more interesting and immersive. Okay, we gotta head back out now. You ready? Here there be monsters. You got the zombies, pretty basic, shoot them and they die. Cerberus, they look cool, but they're really annoying. Crows, I'm not sure if the game ever tells you this, but just in case, don't go near the crows, okay? They leave you alone if you keep distance. Giant plant, giant sharks, giant snake, giant spiders. Unlike the other Resi remakes, this game retains all the weird one-off giant animals. I mean, RE2 did have the alligator, and RE3 had those bugs, though I think we all know why those were there. But for the most part, the newer remakes stray away from the more cartoonish stuff, which is a high point of praise for this game. Resident Evil is often regarded as a perfect remake. If something was in the original game, it's also in this game. It doesn't remove anything, it only adds. And that's why people award it the title of the only remake that does absolutely everything better than its predecessor. And I agree. I played the original Resident Evil, and whenever I'd find a problem that needed fixing or come up with a way something could have been done better, I always realized, oh, right, they did that in the remake. Resident Evil 2002 feels like it was created with the exact purpose of making the game Resident Evil 1996 was supposed to be. It completely replaces the original. If you can play this, there is simply no need to play 96. The game entirely justifies itself, which is kind of odd to see, since right now it seems games just get remade for the sake of it. I'm not condemning the modern remakes, even if the original game is a little better. I think a remake is a fantastic way to make a beloved game more polished, approachable, and accessible. But compared to this, they just don't feel as rich, you know what I mean? Hell, little comparison. Resident Evil is a remake of a game made 6 years prior, right? Look at them, it's night and day. Now look at The Last of Us Part 1, a remake of a game made 9 years prior. Here's the original, and here's the remake. Notice how you need a side-by-side to tell the difference? All that being said, it's kind of a... Well look, obviously all that stuff about Resident Evil being a phenomenal game and a perfect remake is all true. But it's not really a fair comparison, is it? Especially that it removes nothing from the original. I don't know if you've played the original Resident Evil, but fucking of course they don't remove anything from the original. There's nothing to remove. It's a glorified point-and-click adventure game made on the PS1 in 6 months with spit, blue tack, and matchsticks. They can't remove anything. It'd be like taking the legs off a table. It's not comparable to remaking RE4 or Dead Space or fucking any game more complex than a coloring book. Thanks, I had to get that off my chest, it was turning me into a sandwich. But anyway, let's talk about the stuff this game adds. When you shoot zombies, they die, you knew that, right? Okay, forget about that, it's not gonna help you there. These are Crimson Heads, an enemy exclusive to this game. If you kill a zombie, and it lies dead for long enough, it becomes a Crimson Head, which is faster, stronger, and more resilient. These bastards are a nightmare of your own making, and if you're unfortunate enough to get too close, they will gobble your health and ammo like sweets from a baby. The only ways to prevent a zombie from becoming a Crimson Head is to decimate the head, which is luck-based, burn the body, though you don't have enough fuel for all of them, so you have to be smart about which zombies you really need dead, and that's the third method. Just don't kill the zombies. Figure out where you need to go. Hallways. They connect the mansion, they connect to all the rooms, so kill the zombies in the hallways, burn their bodies, and suddenly, boom. You can get where you want to go safely. Yeah, there may be a zombie in this room, or that room, but do you ever have to go back to that room? Probably not. Don't waste your ammo and fuel killing that zombie. Leave the room and you'll never see him again. Playing the original Resident Evil, one of the things that stood out to me was how trivial the enemies felt. Kill them once with your abundance of ammunition and they're gone. No second life, no one comes to replace them, they're just gone. They didn't really feel like part of the experience. Resident Evil felt like a puzzle game with zombies tacked on. And this is what I've been saying about this remake being one big puzzle game. With the simple addition of Crimson Heads, the zombies, the threat, are part of the puzzle too. Anyway, something else this remake adds. Right down these stairs, I'll show you. Nope. That was the sound of Lisa Trevor. One of the game's greatest strengths. She's very well built up to through small moments like this. You're not really sure what to expect, and then you see her. And she is absolutely gorgeous. America's top runaway model, Lisa Trevor. Would you mind telling us who you're wearing tonight? My mother. Oh my god, does my mother make me look fat? Lisa is a fantastic addition to this game. It's almost hard to believe it ever existed without her. She's a very tragic character. You learn about her through notes left around the mansion. She was a little girl, the daughter of the man that made the place. She was experimented on and separated from her family, and she spent all the years since searching for them. Obviously, she's scary and dangerous, but you can't help but feel bad for her, which, going off the standards of Resident Evil writing, makes her a remarkably nuanced character. Rapid-fire things that the remake adds. The iconic scene from the original where the dogs break in through the window is no longer mandatory. The dogs will only break in if you enter the hallway from the opposite direction. Where in the original, trying to leave through the front door played this goofy cutscene, in the remake a dog will actually break through as punishment. When you find Richard, who has been bitten by a venomous snake, there is actually a time limit, and if you don't get him the antidote in time, he will just die. Credit where it's due, not a lot of games would do that. Though there are some areas I'd argue the game hasn't changed enough. It's always bothered me how the mansion is built up as the big thing that we have to escape. It's all about escaping the mansion, and then you do, halfway through the game. And the game's like, psych fucko, you actually have to escape the estate. Dumbass. I don't know if any of you are studying the art of pacing a narrative, but just in case, don't do this. Ever. Hell, especially if you work on Resident Evil games. 7 and 8 are so much worse off for it. I know it might sound exciting, but building up your audience's expectations that this is the climax, this is what you're working towards, and then when they get there, just telling them, surprise, there's more, it's not good. It doesn't feel like we're discovering something cool and new. Through expectations that you built up, it feels like we have just climbed a ladder and you have kicked us back down. I don't think they should remove the other areas, just make them clear from the start. Give us a balcony view of the estate and have Chris and Jill say, damn, we gotta escape this estate. And boom, problem solved. Unfortunately, as is Resident Evil tradition, the quality of the environments does regress as the game goes. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Resident Evil has a formula. Start out strong with an area that's both intriguing and atmospheric, in this case the mansion. Follow that up with an environment that's neither as immersive nor well designed as the first place, in this case the guardhouse. And top it all off with an environment that's atmosphere is either tonally dissonant or non-existent, the lab. Now, I actually don't mind the lab. It's very dull, generic sci-fi, but it's quick and easy to get through. However, I cannot say the same about the guardhouse. Fuck this place. How did this make it past playtesting? I'm seriously asking. It's not difficult, no. Unless you have the gaming ability of current Stephen Hawking, the guardhouse is a cakewalk. It's just a very long walk down the same fucking hallway, over and over again. The mansion has multiple safe rooms, and each one is connected by multiple paths. It's interesting, you have to think about how to get to and from a safe room. The guardhouse has one safe room, and you can get to it through one hallway, which you will go through again and again and again. It's not even a simple hallway, you have to climb over these boxes, there's a door here, so that's plus 7 seconds. It's so tedious and time consuming, and you have to do it for the dumbest reasons. I forgot the combination for this keypad, my inventory is full, I left a key item in the safe room, time to go down that stupid fucking hallway. Again. It can't help but seem like an insult that this game, which is so interesting and immersive, would slap you in the face with something so inherently boring. And on that note, I think it's time we talk about the bad stuff. But the Resident Evil remake is amazing. It is. It is amazing, but in order to do that, it has to exist, and nothing that exists is perfect. Except for you, obviously. You're perfect, and I love you. It's good to remember that at its core, it's still an old game, and when playing it, you can definitely feel some of the aches and pains. The fixed camera, while great for visuals, can make the survival experience very frustrating, as your field of vision is based not on where you're looking, but where you're standing. You'll be under attack from enemies that you can't even see. As I've mentioned, the game encourages you to avoid combat. You'll want to run past an enemy, but because you can't see it, you can't properly gauge how to avoid it, and as a result, you'll most likely end up bolting into a zombie's arms. It's a problem that simply wouldn't exist if you could see from the character's perspective. I've always wanted these games to include a peeking system. No, not just because I really like Jill. I think it would be greatly beneficial if the game allowed you to view neighboring frames. As it stands, you can only see the frame you're in, but realistically speaking, Chris and Jill would be able to look down a hallway or at the other side of a room, so it would make more sense and be more immersive if we could view those frames without having to blindly step into danger. This would also help with firing your gun. You could see your target. When you're playing a game, doing busy work, you might find yourself wondering, is this game wasting my time? Resident Evil is quite special in that regard because it grabs you by the shoulders, looks you in the eyes, and says, yes. I've played most of these old school Resi games, and it's occurred to me there's a very real chance I've spent more than an hour of my life watching digital doors open. In this game, opening a door will take you to the void and show you that door opening for 7 seconds. Not 5, not 3, 7 seconds. For every door, every single time. With the older games, I assumed this was loading time, but with this remake, even on the GameCube, this is not rhetorical, I am genuinely asking, why couldn't opening a door have been like this? Understand, as people go, I am very patient. I play stealth games for fun. If I'm watching a show or film, I am not also looking at my phone, because I'm not a child. Yeah, I see you. If anyone would pardon this shit, it's me. But it's so nothing. It's supposed to be suspenseful, I know that, and maybe it is the first handful of times, but you will do this shit hundreds of times. Start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. It annihilates any chance the game has of achieving a good flow. A lot of the time you have no choice but to zone out and autopilot your way through what should be a purposeful journey. There's also tank controls, named as such because you move like a tank. Move forward, backward, never sideways, want to turn, do it on the spot. It's basically the polar opposite to crab controls. Now, this isn't as bad as you would think, especially in this remake. Tank controls feel smoother than ever before, you can definitely get used to it, but it's still not very good if you want to make fast, precise movements, i.e. zombie evading, which you are encouraged to do. These are the game's less enticing quirks. The raisins thrown in the mix, the fault in its stars, that one tweet from 6 years ago where it said the N-word. They're not constantly nagging pains. You can glaze over them for a good while, but they will rear their heads, and they're frustrating. You'll fail because of some stupid limitation a real human being simply wouldn't have. They completely spit in the face of immersion, which is what this game is all about, with its ambience and its visuals. They're clunky, archaic, and a reminder that while this game may seem timeless, it is old. What you have to take into account is that I hate this shit. Tank controls, doors, and a fixed camera are not my idea of a good time, and yet I find this game to be a good time. I've played it multiple times, and I will play it again. Yes, the archaic stuff sucks donkey balls and it makes me watch, but for my count, the good stuff outweighs the bad, and that's what it comes down to, is the individual's preference. The game is not as widely approachable as most games are today, but if you can look past spending a lifetime in dog years watching doors open, then you're in for a treat.
This whole place is a killing zone. There are monsters.
What did this to you?
A monster? Okay, you know what time it is. It's time. That part in the Resident Evil video where I talk about the story. When starting the game, you choose to play as either Chris or Jill. They both follow the same story beats, but the people they interact with are different. Now, you might assume this is like RE2's dual protagonist system, where each character's story occurs simultaneously, occasionally overlapping, but that's not the case. Whoever you don't choose gets locked up, and you have to save them at the end of the game. Their story doesn't happen, which is a shame, especially considering this is a remake, it would have been cool to add the intertwining narratives that made RE2 so interesting. Have Chris and Jill interact and go through their own separate story beats.
Jill, ladies first.
Chris!
Would you let me have my moments too?
Bit late now, but hey, they could always remake this remake. If you only want to do one trip through this game, do it as Jill. She has the best campaign, no question. Whereas Chris's campaign is just a dude bumbling around a mansion, behaving like it's his first time interacting with a woman.
I left it in another room.
I'll go get it.
He should recover soon.
Good. But if something should happen to me, I'm counting on you.
Chris!
You okay? I'll leave that up to you, Rebecca. No more following. Just stay with me, kid.
You should be fine, because I gave you a shot of serum. But again, don't do anything.
And seemingly stumbling into the ending. Jill's campaign at least resembles a narrative. She frequently runs into her peer Barry, who's very caring to her, and the two are shown to have some chemistry.
Jill.
Barry, I didn't mean to get you that excited.
Right.
But as things progress, Jill questions her trust in Barry as she finds him in increasingly suspicious situations.
Leave this place up to me and go on ahead.
Okay.
He just pulled a fucking gun on you. Do you not want to talk about that? Now, the story is actually very special for a Resident Evil game because of just how mild it is. The writing isn't good, but it also isn't laughably bad. There's nothing obscenely campy about it. It is still weird, but nothing's really given a spotlight. Even the voice acting, which, while not great, is completely unremarkable.
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Never forget what they took from you.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Jill, here's my radio. You should keep it.
Oh no, you must be kidding!
It's a weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things.
You saved me!
Yeah.
Stop it! Don't open that door!
Chris? Stop it!
If you're a Resident Evil veteran, the narrative is best described as shockingly toned down. Even scene-chewing Wesker acts like he's being interviewed by a motion turret. It's very monotone. Don't worry, there is still dumb stuff to laugh at.
What? Premature.
Like in the opening, where our heroes outrun a pack of Dobermans. For reference, the fastest man on Earth could not outrun a Doberman, definitely not in the woods. Our heroes also search the forest in the middle of the night, expecting to find cannibals, and all they bring are pistols. Well, except for Joseph, he's the smart one. Oh, for fuck's sake. It works for the game, obviously you don't want to start us off with assault rifles, but it would be so easy to give them rifles at the start and just say, oh no, we lost our rifles in the chase. Jill has these massive shoulder pads, but none of the other stars do? I don't know why she's the one best equipped for a brawl. But regardless, it's impressive she's able to have a bouncy house on each shoulder and still get bit in the neck. Speaking of bouncy, with the abundance of detail the devs could afford to add, they decided to give Jill a boob animation. Excellent detail, very realistic and immerse me. But because of how static everything in this game looks, especially the character faces, Jill and everyone in this game has the range of expression of a wise old tree. It means that 9 times out of 10, Jill's valentines are moving more than anything else on screen. What I'm trying to say is that this game is really good and you should play it. And with that, I think I'm done. The Spencer Mansion is iconic. Beautifully characterized, it is haunting, it is a place I'm glad I decided to get trapped in. Every step around every corner was enthralling, and I can only hope to see more games so masterfully crafted. I loved it the first time, and I will love it again. Wow. I didn't even have time to tell you how, when the camera cuts, the protagonist is in the same spot on the new frame as they were on the old frame, giving you an easy point of focus to follow. Or how they added smoke, shadows, and reflections to further add to the illusion of a 3D world. Or how the fixed camera positions look like the perspective of someone else watching you. Or how the game has leaderboards, so speedrunning stats are actually built into the game. How cool is that? Oh. There's always someone. Or how much I hate this stupid railing. Vault over it. Why can't they vault over it? You're a couple of elite police officers in your early 20s. Vault over the fucking banister. Or how Jill looks like a Mario Brothers reject. Or how none of the bonus outfits are locked behind a paywall. Remember that? That was nice. Or how Chris let a boulder stop him. Fucking idiot. Or how the basement and attic settings are both underutilized in a damn horror game. Or how putting the tyrant's heart on the outside is a massive design flaw. Or how STARS is a stupid name and it makes them sound like a kindergarten police force. Sir, I'm gonna have to see your hall pass. Or how people were so obsessed with this game they bought up all the typewriters, and the people who couldn't get typewriters bought up all the sticky notes because they filled a similar purpose, that being survivor roleplay. Apparently it was fucking mental. Every shop in America was sold out of sticky notes. They had to limit it to 1 pack per customer. The fucking president made a public statement basically saying, please stop buying sticky notes. It was ridiculous. One woman called the police on her own mentally challenged son because he kept leaving notes around the house saying itchy tasty and wouldn't tell her why. And I gotta say, I wouldn't expect anything less from the Resident Evil fandom. Good job, guys. It's not all over. I plan to review every game in the Resident Evil series, and you get to choose which game I do next. This game was most voted for in a poll on my last Resi video, and now there's a new poll. You've got 3 options. Resident Evil 7, one of the scariest games of all time. It is in many ways an homage to this game, as it returns to a mansion setting and is just full-on horror. Resident Evil 4 Remake, the most recent entry in the series, and a remake of one of the best games of all time. It's got Leon in it and he's ripped, just in case that's to anyone's interest. And of course, Resident Evil Code Veronica, because on my last video, everyone and their mother told me to do Code Veronica. Well, now's your chance. You can find the poll in the community section of the channel. Leave a vote. It's completely free and anonymous. In the meantime, I have other videos, other Resident Evil videos. The one on the top, I talk about why I think this game, this remake, deserves a remake. The one on the bottom, I talk about the original RE1 alongside RE2 and RE3. Thank you for watching, it means the world to me. Next time. Okay, Rebecca, if you're feeling up to it, show us where on the doll the man touched you.